Every morning the alarm clock would go off at 6 a.m. sharp. Sarah would hit snooze, a habit John found endlessly amusing. Then, John would make coffee, always 2 sugars for Sarah, black for himself. They'd sit at their little kitchen table, newspaper spread out, sunlight streaming through the window, and talk about their day. It was their ritual. This morning, however, was different. A text message glowed on Sarah's phone, a notification John couldn't help but see. The name Mark flashed across the screen, followed by a string of heart emojis. John felt a knot in his stomach. Mark was Sarah's ex, and John couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. John, normally a picture of calmness, felt a surge of jealousy. He didn't say anything, but his silence spoke volumes. Sarah, oblivious to John's internal turmoil, happily sipped her coffee, humming along to the radio. She was looking forward to her busy day ahead, completely unaware of the storm brewing in John's mind. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of unspoken tension. John, usually chatty and affectionate, was withdrawn. He kept replaying the text message in his head, each heart emoji a fresh stab to his heart. Sarah, sensing John's distance, retreated into her own world. He must be having a bad day, she thought, choosing not to pry. John left for work without his usual goodbye kiss. He slammed the door a little too hard, the sound echoing Sarah's unspoken questions. She couldn't understand his sudden coldness. Had she said something wrong? Was he upset about work? The text from Mark, a simple birthday greeting she'd forgotten to mention, was the furthest thing from her mind. Later that morning, on his way to a client meeting, John found himself on the 5:15 bus, his usual route. He usually enjoyed this part of his day, a chance to catch up on the news and grab a quick nap. But today, his mind was a whirlwind of anxieties. He couldn't shake the image of the text message, the name Mark flashing like a neon sign. As fate would have it, a man boarded the bus at the next stop. John recognized him instantly. Mark. His heart sank. Mark was even taller and more handsome than John remembered, with a charming smile that could light up a room. He took the seat opposite John, completely unaware of the internal drama unfolding within him. John watched, a silent storm brewing inside him as Mark pulled out his phone. He was texting, his fingers flying across the keyboard. John couldn't help but wonder if he was messaging Sarah. An irrational part of him wanted to snatch the phone and see for himself. He felt a surge of protectiveness over Sarah, a fierce desire to shield her from this man from her past. The bus rumbled on, each stop fueling John's imagination. He pictured Sarah and Mark together, their laughter echoing in his ears. The image felt so real, so vivid, that he almost missed his stop. He had convinced himself that their relationship was on the verge of collapse, all because of a single text message. He couldn't take it anymore. He had to do something, anything, to salvage his relationship. A plan began to form in his mind, a plan fueled by jealousy and desperation. He would surprise Sarah at her office, whisk her away for a romantic lunch, remind her of the love they shared. He would prove that he was the only man for her. Section 6. A change of heart. John disembarked the bus with a renewed sense of purpose. He hailed a cab and headed straight for a florist, emerging moments later with a bouquet of Sarah's favorite lilies. As he stood on the sidewalk watching the bustling city life swirl around him, a wave of shame washed over him. He had let his insecurity and doubt get the better of him. He thought back to their morning routine, to Sarah's oblivious joy, and realized how foolish he had been. She loved him. She had chosen him, and he was letting a silly text message, a message he hadn't even bothered to ask about, threaten their happiness. John realized he needed to apologize, to be honest with Sarah about his feelings, to trust her completely. Section 7. Reunited, and it feels so good. John arrived at Sarah's office, lilies in hand, his heart pounding with a mix of apprehension and love. He found Sarah at her desk, her brow furrowed in concentration as she worked on a presentation. He saw the way her face lit up the moment she saw him, and he knew, deep down, that he had nothing to worry about. He presented her with the lilies, a sheepish grin on his face. "I'm sorry for being such a grump this morning," he mumbled, pulling her close. He confessed his insecurities, his irrational jealousy, and how seeing Mark on the bus had pushed him over the edge. Sarah listened patiently, her hand resting warmly on his. Section 8. Presence over presence. When John finished, Sarah simply smiled and said, "Oh, John, That was just Mark wishing me a happy birthday. You know, he and I are just friends now. She explained that she hadn't mentioned it because it had slipped her mind. It was such a small, insignificant thing, yet it had almost driven a wedge between them. That day, John learned a valuable lesson about the power of communication and the importance of presence in a relationship. He realized that his jealousy stemmed from his own insecurities, not from any lack of love or trust on Sarah's part. He vowed to be more present in their relationship, to cherish every moment, and to never let outside influences threaten their bond. Section 9. Love's Lesson. Love, John realized, wasn't just about grand gestures and expensive gifts. It was about the everyday moments, the shared smiles, the unspoken understanding. It was about showing up, day after day, and choosing to be present, both physically and emotionally. And it was about trusting your partner, communicating openly and honestly, and never letting the sun set on a misunderstanding.